know instinctively that music's important to our development as kids and as adults, but there's a lot of research that backs that up too. You see kids that graduate from high school at higher rates when they're involved in music. They score better on math and reading and English tests, but more importantly, they're more well-rounded people, they're more creative thinkers, and they're more successful in life if they're involved in music at an early age.
I know that for my own kids, being involved in music absolutely gave them a greater sense of confidence, gave them something to be excited about. There's a sense of discipline that happens with learning an instrument and practicing and getting better at it, and that teamwork that happens with being part of a band or something.
There are quite a lot of studies that say that playing a musical instrument improves our math skills, our spatial reasoning, even our critical thinking skills, partially because music engages both halves of our brain. And so when we're doing that, when we're actively using both halves of our brain at the same time, it affects a lot of other things. It allows our critical thinking skills and our ability to connect dots in disciplines increase.
I remember when the kids were in junior high, we would go for the annual honors assembly. And they'd have here's all the kids that have, first honors and second honors or whatever, and they'd all be sitting together. And the principal would always say, if you're involved in band or orchestra or chorus, stand up. And without exaggeration, 90% of those kids would be on their feet. And I think that's proof to what I'm talking about. It's, there's a correlation to what they're learning in music that absolutely impacts their education and helps from that standpoint.
Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of places once you graduate high school, if you're not a professional musician, to make music together with other people. That's not true in every country, but it is true in a lot of America. Interestingly, here in this part of the country, particularly along the Mississippi, there's a really long tradition of bands.
This is a tremendous community in terms of jazz and blues and all of the music that has originated up and down the Mississippi. And what we learned was that as that music was being brought up by talented musicians up the Mississippi, that this was the jumping off point where they would leave the steamboats and travel by train into Chicago, where river music was popularized throughout the world and began to influence musicians globally.
And I think that's a great thing about this region. When I moved here, I was really amazed at how many people were in groups just because they wanted to be. I had not been in a place where people were, again, not with their family, not with a religious tradition, not with something else, making music with other people for fun. And that was kind of great. And so there is a long tradition of that here, and I think it would be a great way to find a way to promote that at a younger age, get them involved in things with music that are outside of school so it doesn't feel like an educational thing that stops.
And we thought, well, what better way to try and accomplish a number of things? Revitalize the downtown, make our area more appealing to young people, to educate people in the realm of music, both about our history and about their future in music. So there's a confluence of ideas that led to the birth of the original River Music Experience. I think the River Music Experience had many different facets to it. You had more of a museum component originally that was really capturing the historical nature of the Quad Cities and our place with river music. You had the educational component that was allowing young people to come in and be educated about music and to learn the craft and to really build a future around music. And then you had the urban entertainment concept where people were finding this to be a really valuable part of their quality of life. This was a entertainment venue that they could really become reliant upon. But it does not shock me in the least that the next step is to take the programming out of the building and around the community. And I think that is something that was contemplated and now is beginning to be realized with Common Chord.
What we saw is that a community really needed music. whether it's concerts that everybody can go to that are affordable, that are family friendly, or whether it's education programs or even music programs that are accessible in other ways. We needed to provide those musical experiences to our whole community, so we developed this vision of Common Chord because we wanted to be accessible to as many people as possible. And the change that's been happening in our programs over the past few years is really about broadening our scope and opening our doors so more people can be involved.